Hi, I'm James Baker, founder of James Baker and Associates and international tax expert slash entrepreneur. And this clip you're about to see is from our last Ask Me Anything. If you want to ask me some questions, I come on live Wednesdays and Thursdays as much as I can. You can join with the link in the description below. I'd love to see you there, but let's get to the clip. I understand that if a non-US corporation owns a US LLC, which is engaged in a trade or business inside the US, it causes the non-US corporation to be engaged in a trade or business inside the US. But does that still apply if the US entity is a corporation instead of an LLC? That is a great question. So the example, XYZ IBC owns Delaware Corporation. Delaware Corporation has US employees, inventory storage, is now engaged in a business inside the US. Is XYZ also engaged in a trade or business? So in the first example, if you have a foreign corporation that owns an LLC or even a regular person, let's say you guys are just a regular person owns an LLC and it's doing business in the US, what happens is the results of that business, the profits and expenses and the results of that business are subject to tax in the US. It doesn't mean that the entire person is subject to like worldwide taxation. So if you buy a laundromat in your own name and you whatever, or you put it in an LLC, it's the same thing, right? You have to file taxes and report the results of that laundromat. You don't have to include all of your activities. So it doesn't mean that the whole activity is subject to tax, just the activity in the US. So in some instances, especially with real estate, it does make sense to just use an LLC and pay taxes personally, mostly because the long-term capital gains rates are lower for individuals. And it's also a little easier from a compliance standpoint if you buy a small property, right? So sometimes I'll advise people just keep it in LLC and pay your taxes personally. However, if you have a foreign corporation, the compliance is way harder. You have to, the 1120F is a much more complicated form. I've been doing taxes professionally for 15 years, right? And I've not done a lot of 1120Fs. Most of them are protective. I may have done 2 or 3 with them actually operating. And the reason is because it's not favorable to do it for tax purposes. So most people who are already working with professionals just don't set it up that way because it's not the best way to do it. You're going to pay more taxes and you're going to pay your accountant more to figure it all out. So all of that said, let me actually answer the question because I could talk about all this stuff forever. This is the purpose of a U.S. corporation. If you are going to have a U.S. trade or business like a laundromat or a shoe store or whatever, some physical thing, or maybe you have a food truck, a corporation is great because it completely separates the owners. So if a person owns a U.S. corp or a foreign corp owns a U.S. corp, neither the person nor the foreign corporation need to report or pay taxes in the U.S. It's a complete separator. That's why multinational companies use corporations. That's why when I have a big client in one country and they have their whole corporation, their whole operations, if they want to expand to the US, they generally use corporations. Corporations have been around way longer and they're much more profitable and not more profitable. They're much more common with multinational businesses and like huge businesses. For most of my clients and people here watching this channel, you have a small local business, you're doing stuff online, you're using the LLCs more as tools instead of just for operating business in the US. Hey, I hope you're liking the video. If you got value from this video, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. It really helps. And I see that 90% of the people watching the channel are not subscribed. Also, if you have specific questions, comment below and I'll make separate videos about it. I'm happy to do that. Thanks for subscribing and I'll see you with the next one. The LLCs are great for the modern entrepreneur and small business owners, but for multinational businesses that have presence in different countries, they use corporations in every country because it keeps the lines very clean as to where you're paying taxation. For example, let's see a good company, if Alibaba was using an LLC in the US, their taxes would be a mess to figure out what's US source, what's foreign source, and to avoid double taxation. By using a corporation, they're able to 2 separate lines, 2 separate operations, and 2 separate levels of tax. And it's just way cleaner and more practical way to do it. So to answer your question, the owners, if owners own a U.S. corporation, the owners have no tax implications in the U.S. Apart from potentially having withholding taxes on their dividends from the U.S. corporation. But oftentimes still we avoid that by paying out different kinds of management fees or different stuff. Again, we're at a smaller, most of my clients are at smaller scale. At larger scale with like thousands of employees and stuff, it's different answers. But again, most people watching this are, we can find ways around it. And my objective with all of my clients is to make sure that you understand your options, understand your risks, and you make a decision that optimizes your potential tax exposure with your current tax liability. So I want my clients to understand really well what they're doing and what they're paying and the risks associated with any positions they're taking. So, and also to be set up initially so there's no tax or decision to make in the end anyways. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. And I want to share some things I have to offer you. If you're looking for help expanding to the US or fixing a tax problem, the quickest way to contact us is to schedule a free call in the description below or at visiting jamesbakercpa.com/schedule. If you want to skip the line and speak with me directly, there's also a link in the description to schedule a call with me, which is another great option. I encourage you to join our Telegram and Discord groups because in there we're announcing when I'm going live, I'm participating, I'm answering questions in real time. It's all free and it's a quick community to engage with other entrepreneurs and people like yourself who are international and learning about this stuff. And I think it's a really valuable place to be. And at the end of the day, if you just subscribe and see me on the next video, that works too. So thanks for being here and I'll see you in the next video.